Hey everybody, this is John and welcome to the free video. Let's dive in and kind of take a look at what is, because today was an interesting day, so let's kind of look at some things that are working, things that might be surprising, and most importantly, what can we do tomorrow? So what's working today? The market's exploded higher, but we have a bearish position on Tesla simply because we have a squeeze. Now, Tesla can be a monster in terms of volatility, so we wanted to set this one up in a way to kind of give us the benefit of the doubt. All right. So for Tesla, we set up an in-the-money call credit spread on Friday. I believe when we were at, well, slightly in the money when we placed the trade. So we placed it for $4. And by doing this, and I know that conventional wisdom has you say, well, why don't you go two times the expected move and you can sell a spread? Well, those spreads are about 20 cents. And if for some reason it blows up in your face, you're risking $9.80, so $980 per contract to make $20 per contract. Now, the odds of it working are like 96%, but of course, if you have one trade that doesn't work, you could lose money on the prior 20 trades. So I kind of like doing it more at the money. You get more of a closer, not quite, this is like you're risking like one and a quarter to make one, but as long as Tesla's trading sideways to down, we're in good shape. Now, Tesla makes me nervous simply because we all know that this is a volatile stock, and typically when it runs, it's going to turn around and rally. It's going to rally pretty hard. So I probably won't get too aggressive with this. If tomorrow we could buy this back, at $1.50, that's probably a good idea. On the opposite side of the coin, we've got Netflix. So Netflix here, a little bit of a double bottom here, and you can see that the momentum shifted here. And there's some squeezes on some of the smaller time frames. Now, in and of itself, I'm not a huge fan that this is a trade where Netflix could explode higher. All right, it very well could, but that's not the setup that I'm looking at. So on something like this, I do see that there's a wall of resistance up here at about $95, but a put credit spread makes sense. So this is one that we did today, and we texted it out from the live trading room, where when Netflix was at about 91.89, give or take, about $1 below where it was here, we sold an in-the-money credit spread. Again, about it's only $2 wide, so risking about 1 1/4 to make one, with the idea that if this should, i.e. blow up in our face, we're not risking 20 to make one. Okay, so this is a little bit of a directional trade, but at this point, as long as we're going sideways to up, we can continue collecting that premium. And right now, on this trade, we got theta at $165 a day, and that's if the stock does trade sideways. All right. And last but not least, let's look at gold, particularly a Nougat. This is a triple leveraged ETF, which is very volatile. And I had this over the weekend, and it stopped me out on Monday morning. But what I've found out about this, or what I've found in trading this over the years, is that it's very, very good about filling its gap. So after it stabilized today and we got a squeeze, we got back into this thing at around $91 and rode it into the close. And now the question is can we fill this gap, which is what I'm looking for. So on this one, because the implied volatility on this is so high, we got like some shares of stock. It's like 1,000 shares of stock, 91.19. We closed at 95.79. Had some in the money puts that we sold. Took off the long part of the put spread, and then bought some $80 calls that are 10 days out. And I went deep in the money on these because, again, the implied volatility is so high. And if we go back over here, we can see that a move to about 108 would fill the gap. So then the question is well, what is gold doing? Because usually what will happen is if gold, the futures can move, then the miners will follow. And you can see right now on the 30-minute chart, there's nothing special. If we come out a little bit to the 78-minute chart, you can see we've got a squeeze. Now, the last time we had a 78-minute squeeze, you can see the nice little pop that we got here. And so I'm looking to see if we can get the same thing here up to 1278 on the futures. That can be done on the futures. It can be done on GLD. It can be done on, Nougat, different things like that. Here's a couple of examples. So whether you trade, options or stocks or futures, a lot of the times these moves will be triggered off the commodity itself. So here's a 15-minute chart of gold, and we got the squeeze. And you can see this clean move that it had, and this turned into a $2,000 per contract move in the gold futures. On this trade, I happen to have 20 contracts. So I mean, it was a nice trade. This is the kind of trade where obviously I want to do these kind of trades, and then the question is well, if it succeeds, when do you get out? How do you not freak out about it? Do you take the money out of the account? Do you wait for the next one, et cetera, et cetera? And it's a little different for everyone. And this is a similar setup, very specific in the S&P 500. It's a 30-minute chart. Yes, you got to squeeze, but it's also the time of day that this happens. Like, this is a trade that I wouldn't do at 8 o'clock in the morning, but I would do at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, with the idea that we kind of get that grind higher. And you can see this turned into, I mean, again, another kind of a nice trade, but these don't come up all the time. When they do come up, I want to be able to recognize them, and I want to be able to dive into them and manage them correctly. Now, for those of you, if you're interested in trading futures, and I know some of you trade futures, some of you don't, we are going to be doing a futures class, and it's aptly named Back to the Futures. I thought that was fairly clever by our design team. And it's going to be myself, Tony Laporta, who's a 36-year veteran of the markets. He started off in the pits, and Neil, who's been trading over 15 years. I kind of started cutting my teeth in the futures markets in 2005. Trading the S&Ps, trading grains, and things like that too. And the reason, there's a couple of reasons we're doing this, but one of the reasons we're doing this is that when I started at the beginning of the year, I had multiple accounts. I had a 15K futures account, and then I had my 180K options account. And at the end of January, my 180K options account, which has been doing great, it's up over 100% as I'm writing this, but at the end of January, it was like down 0.5%. January was just, at the end of the day, ended up being a scratch month. But my 15K futures account was sitting at 28K, which is whatever that is, 95% or something like that. And so when that happened, it kind of made me realize that this was going to be the year where you wanted to have exposure to futures. So I ended up actually putting more money in that account and focusing on a lot of those trades. And you saw the gold trade, you saw the S&P trade. And my idea with the futures account is that this is for creating wealth and income. And there's more of an emphasis on this in income. And the reason for that is that with futures, with a quick directional trade, if you know where to look, if you have the patience and you have the triggers that are setting up, with an options trade, say for income, you do 30 days out, and you sell an iron condor, and it may take over 30 days to make, let's call it $1,000 in theta decay, Well, so over the course of 30 days, you got a high probability of making that $1,000 in theta decay, which is great. With futures, you can sit there, wait, time the trade, hop in, hop out maybe an hour or two later and make that same $1,000, And you can do that over and over. And that's what happened with me with that $15,000 account in that January. I actually didn't have any big trades. It's just I was knocking it out, $1,000 over and over and over. And a lot of the times I was flat, which is great because it creates that neutral mindset. You don't have all that anxiety, et cetera, et cetera. So for those of you that are interested in learning about futures, a couple of things. First of all, if you don't know how to do it, that's fine. Secondly, they're not as scary as you think. Third, even if you don't trade futures, futures move the rest of the market. So it's important to understand how they work. And last but not least, I think they're a great alternate trading vehicle. And even if you primarily are an options trader, as you guys know, I trade a lot of options, it's great to have the ability to go into the futures markets and hedge overnight if you need to, So here are the classes and how they're set up. This is going to be a great class. So first of all, we're going to have our strategy class, and this is coming up this Saturday, May 14th. It's going to be from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central. It'll be myself, Tony, and Neil, kind of soup to nuts on how we are trading futures in this environment, We'll be talking about how to use the futures markets as your trading kind of crystal ball to kind of predict how the other markets are going to go. The open 15, 30, and 60-minute range trades, weekly cash flow strategies, and wiring money out every week. The end of quarter and end of month trades using futures to hedge your retirement account. The FUBAR sneaky tech gap trade, 930 reversal trade, and the opening swing trade, and a couple of other things, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So this will be 6 hours. Now, if you are brand new to futures, you don't even know where they are, what they are, you can get a bonus, which is the Futures Fundamentals homework, okay? And it is a class that we had done on Intro to Futures. So you'll get that, and that way you can go through it and you'll be up to speed. The whole point of these classes is not to teach you something that you could find yourself on Google, okay? You can find on Google what a futures contract is. What we're here to teach you is how we make money off of it, okay? So that's that class. I think that's an easy one. Now, what happens is, it tends to be the most popular, is that people like to actually watch us trade this stuff live, okay? And we'll sit there with our own accounts and trade live for 3 days, myself, Neil, and Tony. Now, this is $9.97, so it's a little bit more, but it includes this class and the bonus. It includes this bonus as well. But I'm also going to be doing on May 31st a class called the Billionaire Mindset. So this is trading lessons from Necker Island, and it's going to be a 2-hour class. For those of you that don't know, I went and spent the first 2 weeks of April in the BVI, and 1 week of that was on Necker Island. And it was an amazing trip. I learned a lot hanging out with a bunch of cool people, including Richard Branson, and we're going to go through and talk about that. What was amazing about this is just the access. And so here, I'm just sitting here, we're having dinner, and he is actually very much into the markets. He's very much into crude oil and currencies because he's got so many international-based businesses that they have a full-time team of hedgers. And so we've worked together on some of that stuff. And I'm going to talk about some of the strategies that they use and why they do it, but also just his, life philosophy. I mean, he's not a billionaire by accident, and it was great. I mean, we were taking notes the whole time that we were there, and he would just kind of, throw some kind of aside, like something that he didn't even really think much about. And to me, it was like, oh my gosh, that's why he's a billionaire. And so I wrote all that stuff down, and I'm going to share that. And it's not even the fact that he's a billionaire. He's happy. And it's more about, hey, well, how do you do all this stuff and have all this, kind of stress and still enjoy life? So I learned a lot from that, and that'll be a bonus that's included with this. And then if you really want to dive into this, I call this kind of the elite package here. And we're going to have our next live trading event, which is only limited to 50 people, in Austin. And it's not going to be then. Well, it's going to include that, but the live event is in June 26th, 27th, and 28th. Okay, it's like a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And this is going to include this, of course, and that. Now, this is going to be $49.97. Essentially, if you sign up for this by Friday, you can get $1,000 off and essentially get access to the classes. Why go to the live event? So the live event, you're going to have a group of traders that are there, okay, who they're all different levels, but the idea is that you can immerse yourself for 3 days in something. What I've always found is when I dive into something for 3 full days, it allows me to take in as much information as I would in 6 months of part-time study. Because when you're so immersed in it and you're talking with other people about it and you don't have interruptions from the outside world, you start making connections. Like the aha moments are off the charts. And so we're going to spend in a full day of advanced strategy, intermediate to advanced strategy, as well as 2 days of live trading. The group of us here at Simpler that trade will be there. It's just an awesome event. I can't recommend it highly enough. We have a poker night so we can learn the basics of money management, and then we just get to kind of hang out and talk, which is great. So anyway, this is going to be a great class. simplerfutures.com/back to futures, and looking forward to seeing you on Saturday.